What do you see through the first couple weeks of your guys? What do you like? What do you not like?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful that we're out. It looks like normal football. We've been practicing physical practices. When you play football, it's a contact sport, so emotions fly a little bit. So I've been encouraged. A lot of fight in our team. I just really love our team.
So looking at the numbers from last year, I saw the note about how young you were with sophomores and freshmen, especially last year, playing big roles for you guys. Those guys are back and they're a year older. How much more confident are you now that you're kind of grown up? I mean, and you're getting older, and the experience. How much does that help you guys?
Well, I was talking to some of our young linebackers, Johnny Wilson Brooks, and also Colin Ramoson, just talking about what's your knowledge of the defense? And they say, "Oh, coach, it's night and day." He goes, "Can you imagine you played last year with the limited knowledge that you had with 1 year experience?" So they're going to be ahead. But also think about Ty, just a guy that's been at Notre Dame, played in an Army game, been in some big atmospheres. So like you said, Mikael Haywood, there's so many. I'm just trying to rattle off the top of my head. But you're right, that experience that we gained last year is definitely going to help us this year.
About Ty, what have you seen from him that stood out so far?
Great leadership. His mastery of the offense is way better than it was last year. His command of the offense. He's had a great spring, and he's continued out to the fall. Super pleased with what he's doing.
And then just to comment on the defense this year, what do you say?
I love our defense. We lost Diego Fago, probably arguably the best player that's ever played here, up there in top 5 best Navy football defensive players or players that have ever played here. So we don't have him, Mikey McMorris, maybe some bigger name guys, but our defenses, they kind of call it the no-name defense, but I love the way we're playing. They're playing under Coach Newberry's philosophy of running to the football, elite eats, and just love what I see so far from them.
Coach, I was going to ask you about a couple personnel changes you made with the support staff. You moved Omar into a different role. Can you explain the reasoning behind that?
Well, part of Brian Blick last year was our ops guy, but also I consulted him with many things because he went to school here, his leadership. I've talked to some Marines that served with him when he went overseas, and they said that Brian Blick was one of the best leaders they've ever had. And so he had a wide variety of knowledge of the academy. That's Omar. So not only the school, being a leader, what it's like to be at class, to serve, just his knowledge, and he played football here. He knows the brotherhood better than anybody. He knows the Naval Academy as good as anybody. So that wisdom was good for me, just to consult about different things. And Omar does as good a job as anybody in helping retain people. Marcus, brought back Marcus Thomas. Who's a former Navy football player. Again, a guy that has those times that type of background. Danny Payne has done an awesome job. Helping out with doing our recruiting. Josh Bose is now our football ops, coming from Virginia Tech, Memphis, different places. Has done a great job. And then we promoted Christian, who was back in our recruiting room, but had done some video with Louisville, and we moved them there. And so they're perfect fits, like our support staff. Some of the moves we make, and they've paid dividends so far.
So how's what Omar's doing now different? I mean, before he was focused solely on recruiting. So now you're saying it's more like just like overall operations management type stuff? Or how's he different from your director of football ops? I mean, what exactly do you envision that role?
Yeah, so I see Omar, he's in charge of all of the off the field stuff.
Okay.
From just everything.
Working with Rob Dunn on hotels and travel.
More than that, way more than that. Just that's the ops side is still Josh Bose, but they all fall under Omar. Our recruiting, our player development, player retention, training room, equipment. So
he's managing a lot of these support staff.
He's over all of it.
Right.
And a lot of guys have started to do that now. Lots of coach to coach. But he's the chief of staff for. He's basically my right-hand man.
Right, and then he can report to you, and that way you don't have to micromanage all this.
Right, but he handles all of it. So he's able to talk to Greg, to Jim Barry, Brian Fitzpatrick, Scott Maher, nutrition, Dr. Moeller with some of the mental health stuff. our academic people. So it just allows us to streamline things. Josh both with ops, they all fall under the umbrella of Omar Nelson.
And so to replace Omar in the recruiting piece of it, what made you think of Marcus?
He's what I'm looking for. He's exactly what I'm looking for. When you recruit, I want the sale to be our people. We're not talking about, facilities are nice, but I want people and parents and recruits to come here and to see this is the product of what your son will be. And that's always been our sell, like this is who your son can be in 5 years. So Omar, bringing Marcus Thomas back, who served for 5 years in the Marine Corps, worked at UCLA, to me is the perfect thing for family to see. What can my son become? Right here, Marcus Thomas. And so that's the thought process behind all of that.
And then Danny Payne's been a good support for Marcus?
Oh, well, Danny does a lot of recruiting stuff. So recruiting is so huge right now. I mean, most people have 20 guys in recruiting. We got 4.
Right.
And so,
midshipmen.
Yeah, and midshipmen come on their free time when they have a free period to come over. And so Danny has been awesome, logistically. But when we bring people here, Marcus can take families on a tour of the Naval Academy. He doesn't need to go to the visitor center to get a briefing on what building is what. He knows exactly what it is, and that's what I was looking for, where Danny can organize all of it, the logistical part.
Databases.
All of that stuff, which when you recruit 50 states, you better get all of that if you got to have a chance.
All right, thanks, Gary.
So just one more for you. Just with having all the families here, what does this mean for the mental side of all the plebes and the team just to see their parents again?
Well, they're practicing right now, but I guarantee you their minds are there. They're ready to shower, see their parents, see their mom, see their girlfriend, see their dad. And so, but it's good. I know that they were rejuvenated to see their parents here. I could tell they had a little pep to their step today. So that's what senior family and senior loved ones does.
Coach, I just ask you one more thing about the growth of your team, the experience like I started off with. How much easier does it make your job, I guess, compared to last year, knowing that guys, like you said, know the system and have that one? You're not the most experienced team by any means, but you have that extra year. How much easier is it this year compared to kind of teaching everybody and going on the fly last year?
Well, they've been in the fire. They've been in our biggest game of Army. They've seen that, so they know when we push them and work them hard, it's not anything personal, it's because to reach our goal. And so those guys can portray that to the younger guys. Hey, we have to do this. We have to run hard. We have to lift hard. We have to pay attention to detail for us to have a chance. So they're able to relay it. The teams that I've been around that have been great, the leadership always comes from within. I can provide the leadership, your team isn't as good, but when the leadership comes from within, that's when you get elite teams.
We're here with Omar Nelson, who, I don't have my media guide here. What is your new title?
The new title is Chief of Staff.
Chief of Staff. And I just talked to Coach Niumatalolo about what that means, and basically you're in charge of the entire support staff. You are going to interface with Greg Morgan-Thaler from equipment. You're going to interface with Jim Barry from training staff, interface with Fitzpatrick on strength and conditioning, and Marcus Thomas, who's in your former role of recruiting. It's a lot of responsibility, and you got to try to bring this information to Coach Niumatalolo. You're trying to lighten his load so he doesn't micromanage. Can you just talk about the responsibility he's put on your shoulders, Omar?
Well, it's something that I don't take for granted. I mean, I've known Coach Niumatalolo since 1995, actually on this field, when he came in as the ABACS coach. And he knows how much I respect him and proud to have been associated with him through his whole career, either broadcasting games or in the roles that I've had here. So I look at my job, as you said, to make sure he can focus on being the Hall of Famer that he is. And what makes him a Hall of Famer is winning football games, watching film, evaluating, breaking down other teams, creating strategy. So anything that I can do, and I look at this job, anything that I can do that can keep him doing those things to make sure that we're in the best possible position to win football games, that's my job. I mean, it could be as simple as sweeping the hallway. So when if he walks out his office, if Coach sees a piece of trash, he's gonna pick it up and he's gonna throw it away. But if I can sweep it up, make sure it's not there, that's gonna get him back into the room, get him be the Hall of Famer he is, and make sure we're able to win games.
So it's kind of somewhat on-the-job training in that this is a new position, but at the same time, you're intimately familiar with the operation. So you know all the parts that you're being asked to oversee. But kind of tell me, I mean, since you moved into this new role, are you just slowly kind of evolving and learning, deciding what you need to do, how to do it, etc.?
You do want to make sure you make the right decisions, but it hasn't been slowly. I mean, I've had ideas on ways to make the program more efficient, and this business, Wags, you don't have time to slowly implement. I mean, once you get it, you got to go.
Right.
I mean, I'm only going to be judged on what we do September 3rd. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's my first. When you're putting the product out on the field, it's not. We have a 5-year program, we have a 10-year program. So things that I knew that could help us right away, I tried to implement them as quickly as possible. And some things might take some time, but I'm bringing them up to try to get them there as quick as possible.
So I know in the past, like Coach Fitz would pop into Coach Niumatalolo's office and ask for questions about this, or maybe report about that, or Greg from equipment would go in there. Now he doesn't have to take time doing that. I presume you're going to have periodic meetings in which you basically sit down with all these entities and get an update status report, or do you individually meet, or how are you approaching it so far?
Well, first of all, Coach still has open door policy if anybody wants to go. Right. And meet with him, but we do meet weekly to go through all the departments, make sure that and then I look at the weekly meeting to make sure that everyone has the information. Right. It's not a meeting for me to get up there and say like a report card, what have you done this week, or what do you have planned this week. The whole purpose of the meeting is to make sure everyone in the program knows what everyone's doing, so decisions can be made quicker. I mean, I don't want to be the one to bottleneck any decision. Okay. So if we're talking about it on a weekly basis, and the floor's open for everybody to have input. I mean, even down to the interns, and even down to the TADs, because as long as we're all kind of have an idea what's going on, then we can be agile in decision making. And that's a lot of stuff I've learned not only, while I was in the service, but also when I was working in corporate America, to where, you want agile thinkers. You want people that can make decisions. You want to make sure to put us in the best possible position. So that's how I look at our weekly meeting.
Right. And so will it become more intense as the season ramps up? I mean, then you got games, and with what exactly you're doing for Coach as Chief of Staff, will you expect that it'll become a little more intense as the season gets in and you're on road trips and whatnot?
Well, first of all, Josh Bose, who's come in as our Director of Football Operations, he has a lot of experience. So a lot of the operational aspect, he's done all that. I mean, he's done it. He did it at Memphis. He's done it at Virginia Tech. He has a lot of experience in that, and that's one thing. When Coach and I talked about it, he did not want me to be operations. Right. And we elevated Josh to that position to be that. So those things, Josh will take care of those. I look at my role is to be observant and understanding that I don't need to do Josh's role. But if there's something that I can see that could help Josh be more efficient, or Fitz be more efficient, or help Marcus out, or Danny out, just to kind of bring those things up. And a lot of it has to do with me being around the program for as long as I have. I can anticipate certain things that might happen, and certain things I can't either. Also, that's a great thing about having a great relationship with someone like a Scott Strassmeyer, to where he can, without hesitation, he can call me and bring something up, and that might help on that aspect. And then working directly with members of Chet's staff also to make sure just the communication lines are open, so Josh doesn't have to do that.
Right. All right, perfect.
Omar, just one more question from me on this. Every time I see you now, you got a smile on your face. Are you living the dream in this new job?
Well, I enjoyed it, and I like my other job also. I always say that that one thing that I do want to do is try to help this program win football games. I don't try to make it that difficult. I have a long list of things, but I am enjoying it. But like I said earlier in the beginning of the interview, I did not take this for granted at all. When Coach Niumatalolo entrusted me with this position, and I'm grateful to him every day.
Well, we're here with Navy's new Director of Player Personnel, Marcus Thomas, former Navy football player. I covered him when he was an outstanding slot back at Navy. Marcus, how thrilling was it for you to be brought back into the football program that you love so much?
Oh man, it was awesome, man. It's like a full circle moment for me. I still remember right now it's Plead Parents Weekend going on. I was just telling one of the guys I played with, I still remember what me and my mother and my sister went to eat for Plead Parents Weekend. So like I said, it's a full circle moment. It's been 8 years or so since I graduated. So I'm just excited to be back. I'm thrilled to be back.
How do you feel that you're military service, the time in the fleet, has prepared you for this role of which coach has asked you at overseeing recruiting?
Well, I feel it's prepared me a great bunch for the simple fact that when you go to school here and when you serve in the Marine Corps, as I did, you not only have to have a lot of time management skills, but you have to have priority management. And this job that I have now definitely calls for that. Any job in college sports and college athletics, college football calls for that. So I think it prepared me a lot as far as priority management, time management.
So it's an enormous task, as Coach Niumatalolo mentioned, recruit all 50 states. I mean, it's different than a lot of schools where they may recruit more regionally, focus more regionally, or in certain states. Navy's got to be in all 50 states because you never know where you're going to find a future Navy officer who can also play football. Can you talk about the challenge of trying to, because I know Sean McGee, who's now at the Chicago Bears, was brilliant at creating a new database that made it easier to identify players. But can you talk about the challenge you're put before you?
Well, yeah, the challenge is definitely a lot different than most schools, because not only do you have to be a good football player, but you have to be a great student to go to school here at the Naval Academy. And more times than not, those are few and far between to find. And
wanting to serve.
Exactly, and on top of that, and be willing to serve in the Navy or the Marine Corps. But it's not as that is a challenge, but it's not as challenging as you think. There's a lot of kids who are willing, who are great students and great football players, and we have to obviously recruit a lot more kids, like you said, 50 states, so we have a bigger pool to recruit from. So and we have a bigger team than everybody. So that definitely plays a part in it. But it's a challenge, but we've done it. We can make it happen. We'll continue to make it happen.
So you're replacing Omar in this role of recruiting. I mean, he held this title before. Now he's chief of staff. I know he's busy, but he's try to maybe still rely on him a little bit as you get acclimated and maybe get some pointers from him about what the job entails and how best to approach it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Omar has definitely helped me out a lot. Every day we speak about recruiting, player personnel duties. He's definitely been a great valued asset for me. Big brother for me to lean on and ask questions if I have them, and even if not, he just keeps me informed as far as what I need to do and what steps I need to take to get certain tasks accomplished. So he's been great having Omar around.
So Coach Niumatalolo said one of the reasons he likes a former Navy football player in this role is that he wants his recruits to see what they are going to be, and there's no better person be kind of the first face of recruiting than somebody who's a former Navy football player who went on to serve in the fleet or in the Marine Corps. Like he mentioned, if you give someone a tour of the academy, you don't need to go to the tourism office to find out, the visitor center to find out what the buildings are, and you know this place. Can you talk about that and the fact that you lived it?
That definitely makes it a lot easier as far as selling the place and being able to speak to the place, because like you said, I went to school here, I played football here, I served in the Marine Corps, so it definitely helps out a lot having went to school here, and it makes it funner because I'm on the other side now and I can tell them the real deal and give them the 100% absolute of what to expect from this place and what you can get out of this place when you graduate.
And now you have a good assistant, Danny Payne, who's been in the recruiting game before. He's done this at other schools, so he knows what he's doing. Has he been a help? Is it good to have him on your team? Oh yeah, Danny is brilliant. I mean, Danny is our director of recruiting, so he is the one that's handling all of the coaches' communications with recruits, player evals, and all. He has, I think, like 9 years experience. He's been to other schools, so it has helped out a lot, and he has a lot more experience than I have in this. So Danny has been brilliant. And last but not least, what did you retire from the Marine Corps? What rank? Captain in the Marine Corps. And in terms of, I mean, you a pretty fulfilling career in the Marine Corps. You spent 8 years. Oh yeah, I love it. So I actually did 5 years, 8 years since I graduated, 5 years in the Marine Corps. I spent the last 3 seasons after I got out of the Marine Corps. I spent the last 3 seasons at UCLA with Coach Chip Kelly out there as an offensive analyst. But the Marine Corps it was a great time. I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan for 2.5 years. Got to see the world, deployed on the ship. I did some cool things. Seen a lot of cool places, and I had a great time in the Marine Corps. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I'm guessing Bryce McDonald had something to do with you getting that position at UCLA? You are correct. You are correct. Bryce McDonald had a lot to do with me going to UCLA, and that's another one of my big brothers. And he actually was our director of player development when I was getting recruited. Right. And so same type of deal as you spoke to earlier about coaching one, a former player, be in these types of positions, support staff roles that actually help, sell the program and tell what this program is all about. So obviously, when you got out of the Marine Corps, you were looking to maybe get into football coaching?
Yes. I had a few ideas. I thought about maybe going to law school, maybe going to get an MBA, but football was always there. I always thought about football, and I had a conversation with Bryce, and he said that there may be some opportunities at UCLA, and 3 years later, I'm here.